There's been a lot of content that Plarium has released in the last couple years that I haven't been a fan of. Cursed City, for example, would be one of the big ones. Changing Hydra. I'm not really a huge fan of Chimera. A lot of different stuff that they've put in the game that I don't really like. But honest to God, guys, without a doubt, I think Hard Faction Wars is the absolute worst content drop they have ever done, and I want to discuss why. I'm going to try not to make this a rant, but it's me, so it probably will be. So if you don't like hearing rational, logical thought as to why things should be improved and you're happy with the status quo, by all means, don't watch. But for those of you who expected something better when it came to this content, sit along, enjoy as we dissect why this is my least favorite piece of content that Plarium has ever done. Now, what's inspiring this video is this. I happened to watch a video by Ash recently where he talked about interest in Raid is down. And he's absolutely right. Views are down for creators. Interest is down. More and more people are leaving. I have no idea how that translates to spending. It's very possible that people are still spending at the same levels they were and that there's been no revenue drop for Plarium. Who knows? But all I know is this. Faction Wars Hard is truly abysmal content. And there's a couple of reasons why. Let's start with the premise of what this is, right? It's a hard version of content that already exists. One of the things that I think Plarium has kind of gotten a little bit lazy on is putting out new content that is truly new. Even Cursed City, which is the other biggest content drop of the last 2 years, in my opinion, isn't really new. Parts of it are, right? Like the actual stages, but the bosses themselves are the same things we've faced for 6 years now. Well, Faction Wars Hard is more of that, except worse. Because one of the things that drives me absolutely crazy about this mode is the insane level of difficulty for 99.9% of the player base, myself included, by the way, who's been a big spender in Raid, as all of you know. But even aside from just the overall insane level of difficulty, it's the insane level of difficulty spikes. One of the things I think that makes this so frustrating is some stages are significantly easier than other stages, and they're all out of order. There's not a consistent, gradual, increase in difficulty. It's, nope, this stage is going to be brutally tough, require you to spend 2 hours running it, and good luck. Because as always, our big friend, I should say, RNG plays a major role in these stages. And if you've ever heard me talk about the downfall of Raid before, RNG is one of my main culprits. And unfortunately, this mode is chock full of it. Just chock full of annoying RNG about, did I not, well, I guess not landing any weak hits is actually, no, it would be RNG if you don't have all voids, or even if you're in Affinity Breaker, it's still RNG. But almost every one of these stages is insanely RNG dependent, designed to frustrate you, designed to force you to spend more money. The same thing that Cursed City did. That's what this content is doing. It's not designed to be fun, because frankly, if you find this fun, you're a masochist. And hey, I salute you. By all means, if this is your cup of tea, fantastic. But in my opinion, these challenges are not enjoyable. They're not fun. It's not a good time to get absolutely cooked by Jing Wang over and over and over again, who cleanses all your control debuffs while you're trying not to land weak hits or whatever else you have to do. It's the antithesis of what fun should be in this game, and it's been a problem because they've been trending more and more and more in this direction of RNG, whether it's Arena and how live Arena plays now, or Classic Arena, whether it's PvE based content like this, where in difficulty levels are all over the map. And you could say the same thing about Event Dungeon 30, which is also absurdly difficult for no reason other than to force you to spend. But this is a really egregious one because so many of these stages can't be beaten unless you have certain champions, similar to Cursed City, here we are again, or alternatively, you have the absolute most god tier gear that's ever existed in the most ridiculous sets like Affinity Breaker. It's frustrating, for lack of a better word. It is frustrating content. And that's not even to take into account goofy stuff that happens. So I was doing a dwarf stage last night. I've managed to 3-star every stage I've done, albeit it's been really difficult too. This is the other part of it. Trying to do this as quickly as possible, obviously, is that you only have a day to do this. And maybe you have a job, maybe you have kids, maybe you have other stuff you have to do. Playing Faction Wars hard is the most Raid has ever felt like work to me in my entire time of playing this game. It is not fun. It is just work. It is waiting for reset and then immediately seeing what god-awful things I have to do today is how it feels when I play this. But case in point, Dwarf Crypts were open yesterday. I was taking on the boss, and I had a massive shield on my Trunda, and unfortunately his reflect damage debuff killed her after she already killed him. But because it happened, I guess, at the same time, technically she killed him first, then he killed her. But the way it's coded is she died. I can't retry the stage. It eats my keys immediately. And again, like, this is my fault for guessing that she would live with this massive shield. She didn't. She did too much damage. But why can't I retry the stage? Why are my keys eaten up right away? Like, this is a minor detail, but it's something that's always bugged me about Faction Wars hard, and even Clan Boss for that matter. Why can't I free regroup on these stages the way I can on Hydra or the way I can on Chimera? Just a small quality of life that needs to come in here. But even outside of that, you cannot tell me, as a rational, logical person, which I believe myself to be most of the time, that this isn't designed to make you spend more money, because you have to have certain champs geared, you have to have certain champs leveled, and although, yes, they are giving us the opportunity to earn 1 hour of free regearing every day, it's just not enough, because beating some of these stages sometimes takes over an hour or 2 hours to beat one stage. And that's my account. That's like this absurd, overpowered account, right? Definitely not the strongest account in the game, but pretty damn strong. I don't know what they're thinking, basically, is kind of where I'm at with this. I really don't know what they are thinking, because the way I look at it is they're just not introducing stuff that is enjoyable anymore. They're just introducing things that are frustrating. And I'm curious if you guys feel the same way. Maybe I'm off base here. Maybe there are more people that like this mode than I realize. Most of the comments I've seen on other people's videos or in my own Discord have been like, this mode sucks. And I've said, yeah, I agree. Wholeheartedly, I agree. It's way too difficult, way too overtuned. But even if it weren't, even if the bosses weren't absurdly broken, even if the waves weren't absurdly set up to screw every single strategy you may do, other than brute forcing most of the stuff, or just being 10 million times faster with 10 million times more strength or whatever else, even if it weren't, right? The kind of challenges that are in here are boring as hell. Like, don't let your enemies use any active skills. Okay, sounds like a blast. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's just not enjoyable. At least that's how I feel. And it truly is, in my opinion, I think the worst content that Raid has ever done. Now, granted, you may say, if you've gotten this far in the video, well, Drock, you don't need to 3-star every stage once you've done it once. Yeah, that's true. You know, it will become part and parcel of just mindlessly doing this daily. But it's part of a bigger trend that I think has caused people's frustration with this game and more interest to decline and more people to leave. And again, as a content creator, I have a vested interest in this game doing well. I'm 100% biased, hoping that they get this stuff right, hoping that it does well. And I think that's important to acknowledge, but also just because, look, I at the end of the day, I love what Raid is possibly the potential of what Raid could be, or what it was before this kind of stuff started coming in. I mean, like, you go back 2.5, 3 years ago, I don't think you could have found anybody that was more in love with Raid than I was. And it's just a bummer to see, I don't know who's the decision maker for this kind of stuff, but if it's like a monetization type thing that's pushing for these things, I really hope that they wake up. That they wake up before it's too late. Because the more of this kind of stuff that you introduce that is only accessible to a tiny percentage of players, the more and more likely the game is going to decline. And frankly, even this that's accessible to people like me is still not fun. And this is a game. It should be fun above all else. It should be challenging, but rewarding. And this certainly is not rewarding, in my opinion. These rewards are worse than they were when the game launched. You can look at regular faction wars and what you got on the regular faction wars, and they are 10 times better rewards, in my opinion. Look at this. Multiple sacreds, chickens, doesn't matter for my level, but commensurately, when you were doing this when you started out, these are just better overall rewards compared to what you get for faction wars hard mode. You know what I mean? Congratulations. You end up getting one shot at a mythical, basically at a mythical relic, and it's only a 20% chance. Whoop-de freaking do. And that's something I think they've got to improve across the board. The rewards for so many things recently, whether it's Chimera, whether it's this, they're just piss poor. There's really no other way to say it. And here's the thing. Yeah, again, maybe their revenue is great right now, but I'm absolutely certain that people are playing this less, that they are less likely to play, and that stuff like this hurts the community overall. That's my personal opinion, but I also think it is backed up by the evidence I have seen of how many people have left the game recently. But again, you tell me, am I off base with this? Because I truly feel like this mode is just a cash grab. Build more champions, build obscure champions, make sure you have those champions in the first place, spend millions and millions of silver either upgrading gear or potentially switching it out, because again, 1 hour per day of free gearing is not enough for this. It's just not enough. And that's only after people complain that they actually are like, oh, we're going to give you an hour of free regearing. We're so generous. No, just make all regearing free. But anyway, I just had to get this off my chest. I really, really hope they start tuning this to make this less RNG based difficulty, more enjoyable, less ridiculous tasks, and more accessible to the entirety of the player base. Again, it's fine to cater towards whales in certain areas of the game. I understand you have to spend, but for the love of God, man, this kind of stuff doesn't even cater to us, because this just isn't fun to play for anybody. Anyway, rant over. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree with me. Let me know if you disagree with me respectfully. And God, I truly hope that something like this never comes out again, because it really is the least fun I've ever had playing Raid. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a wonderful day. And if you're trying Faction Wars hard, may your RNG be absolutely immaculate, and certainly better than mine. Big Papa Drock, out!